Simpsons were doing their normal everyday thing that they did on the weekends, spending time as a family watching TV, when all of a sudden they heard a loud explosion coming from outside. Bart went up to the window and saw that a building had exploded. He then looked up into the sky and saw some sort of flying object that looked like a flying saucer. He couldn't believe his eyes. Were aliens attacking Springfield? As Bart was watching in disbelief, the screen on the TV changed to that of the news. Breaking news. And it read, "Story of the century. Aliens have been discovered, and they have come to attack Earth, and that they have currently invaded the town of Springfield." The Simpsons were at a loss. They didn't know how to respond. Should they leave Springfield, or should they stay inside? That's when the news anchor responded to their thoughts with, "Leave town immediately. If you don't, you'll die." And with those words, the Simpsons knew they had to get out of Springfield. And with that, they all hurried into their rooms, packed everything that they could, and hopped into their car to get out of town as fast as they could. As they started to drive down the road, they saw more and more flying objects in the sky, destroying buildings and everything around them. It was complete and utter chaos. That's when a car behind them suddenly sped past them. But before they could even realize what happened, a loud beam could be heard coming down and crash into the car in front of them, destroying it, killing the people inside. This resulted in a shockwave that collided with the Simpsons car, flipping it and making them crash. The car continued to flip until it stopped in front of someone's front yard. Bart slowly opened his eyes, realizing that they were upside down. He unbuckled his seatbelt, and luckily it wasn't stuck. He grabbed his head and realized that he probably had a concussion. He then looked around the car and was horrified. Homer and Marge had both been impaled and killed by the shrapnel from the car. Bart then checked on his two sisters, and luckily they were only unconscious. Bart struggled to move until he finally got out of his seatbelt and fell onto the roof of the car that was now the bottom. He unbuckled Lisa and Maggie from their seatbelts and dragged his unconscious sisters out of the car by kicking and breaking the side window. As he dragged them onto the grass of the yard, and as he was dragging his sisters, he looked behind him and saw that the car caught on fire. Not even a few seconds later, the car exploded, sending a shockwave that sent Bart back a few feet. Bart managed to get up somehow, and he looked at his two sisters, thankful that they were both still alive. But his parents, he looked at their corpses, fried and burning in the car. He then looked around Springfield. Everything was being destroyed. His town was going to be no more. He had to get his sisters out of there, if it was the last thing he did. He went over to his sisters and started to shake them awake, and luckily they both woke up. Lisa asked what happened, and Bart told her what had happened. They crashed, and the worst part, that Homer and Marge were dead. Lisa couldn't believe this news. The three Simpsons kids were now orphans, but Bart told her that they had to get out of there now. And that was when they heard a strange sound, and when they looked up, fear struck their hearts. It was one of the flying objects, and it was landing directly in front of them. All they could do was watch as the flying object landed, and it suddenly opened with a figure coming out. It was some green tentacle-looking monster. It smiled evilly at the three before it took out what appeared to be a ray gun and shot Lisa. And this resulted in Lisa disintegrating instantly, killing her. Bart couldn't even process what had happened. This monster had taken his little sister and his parents. For that, it was going to die. Bart ran towards this green alien that was responsible for his sister's death, and he tried to jump on it, but he was easily smacked away by one of the tentacles. This knocked Bart out for a few seconds, and when he awoke, he saw the alien holding Maggie with one of its tentacles wrapped around her neck, and before Bart could do anything, the alien snapped Maggie's neck, killing Bart's last family member. This caused an unseething rage in Bart that would never be quelled, but before Bart could do anything, he looked down to see a tentacle through his chest. The alien simply pulled out the tentacle, and Bart fell to the ground, dead. The alien just laughed evilly and returned to its flying object, to return to the skies and cause more destruction and havoc in Springfield. The Simpsons were one but many families, citizens of Springfield that had been murdered, and for the rest of Springfield, the citizens weren't going to last much longer, and for the town itself, it would soon be no more.